Hi, Quamaine. Welcome to Evolve Podcast. How you doing today?
I'm doing awesome, man. It's great to see you. It's been a long time. I'm excited.
Yeah. Quamaine and I went to college together, and I think the last time I saw you was in like 2010 or 2011, probably.
Yeah, I would probably say so.
We used to work together at Christopher Newport University, where we both attended for our undergrad. Old red shirts back in the student union, and obviously a lot's happened since then in your life and mine and the world at large. In the past, it's been 12 years, something like that.
Yeah. Which is crazy. That it's been over a decade.
I know, man. But great to reconnect with you on this platform and to have this conversation with you. Officially, welcome to the Evolve Podcast. It's an open forum on personal growth and cultivating a positive mindset, which I know is something that you've done and continue to do. That's very on brand for you. You are a multidisciplinary artist. You do pretty much everything that I've seen across your Instagram, from painting to tattooing, and exploring other different non-traditional surfaces to create art on. So I'm really interested to hear about your journey as an artist, from who you were when I first met you to who you are today and who you're becoming. So thank you again for being here.
Of course. Like I said, I'm honored, and I'm honored to talk about my past and how it all led up to here. It's definitely been a journey.
And I'm sure it was even in the process, of happening, your artistic journey, that is, before we met too. So let's explore that first. The Quamaine before 2010, before graduating Christopher Newport. Tell me about that guy.
I would say that guy was pretty much just driven on the aspect of the corporate world. Like I said, I was going to school for computer engineering, so it's all about just the IT. I really didn't have the creativity that I have today. I think it was always there, but I kind of didn't know any kind of paths to really make it lucrative or to make money from it at all. So my journey in school was just pretty much was to get my degree and become an engineer once I graduated and, moved on, which I did do that. But that's pretty much all I was about before 2010. I played a little bit of football, but I only played for a year. That really just didn't pan out. I was just more, like I said, I just started to focus just merely on school and to get my degree.
Was that focus for you, like that mindset, was that something that was driven by your family at the time?
Not really. I think it was just more or less just my subconscious of me thinking that's what my family wanted for me. And just trying to have something different than what I was really raised around. Not a lot of my family went to college and all of that, so I kind of just wanted to do something different. So that's where that aspect came and that pursuit. After achieving it and having it and then living in the world, I kind of realized I don't think it was ever for me.
It's not always what it's cracked up to be, It's not always what we expect it to be.
Right.
So Tell me a little bit about your childhood. Like, where'd you grow up? What was that experience like?
I grew up in a small town. It's really a city, but it's really a small town. It's called Martinsville, Virginia. It's southwest, near the border of North Carolina. If anyone's familiar with like Greensboro, and stuff like that. But yeah, I mean, I just was raised pretty much just a country boy. Just pretty much playing in the woods, dirt bikes, four wheelers. I was just a really just an outdoor kid. Just loved being outside. And as a kid, I used to draw. I used to really just be into drawing. That's what I used to do. When I go to the libraries, I would grab art books, and that's how I would learn how to draw. And I drew probably all the way up until I got into middle school, and then became really obsessed with sports. And just that's kind of where my focus was in my younger years, as a teenager, all the way up until I was probably like 19, 20 years old, until I got to college, and then kind of just left the sports alone, and then started focusing on a little bit something a little more realistic for myself.
Yeah, that's interesting that you had that connection of like loving art from your childhood. And, as we get older, of course, you get interested in sports, you get interested in, chasing women or, what have you, whatever floats your boat. There's things from our past that take less of a priority, but it's really cool that you rediscovered that love for art, as you entered into adulthood and matured into this new version of you.
Yeah. I think it's just like, it's sort of like a full circle. Because I mean, a part of me sort of like forgot about that part of my life. And I kind of had to tap back into like, oh man, like I used to do this, I used to do that, like, and kind of revisiting those memories that I've kind of like pushed away, and like, I guess like it kind of reminds you that, I think a lot of kids and children kind of know where their heart lies and kind of what they really love doing. But sometimes people don't really know how to nurture that or keep somebody going with it. And for me, it wasn't, a lot of art wasn't around where I was. So it's like, other than me drawing the Dragon Ball Z and whatever little cartoon characters I would draw on the bus and stuff like that. I mean, that's all the art that I knew, as a kid, so I didn't really know of anything else being anything bigger than that.
So do you feel like that's why you sort of felt the urge to push it away, just because there wasn't like that representation and awareness of like what you could do with it?
Yeah, I would say 100%, man. Like, just like if you don't really have anyone around you to kind of like to push you or to let you know that, hey, there's something you can make out of that, people would kind of just push it to the side, and you kind of would just either fall in line doing what some other folks are doing or doing something similar to it, and I think that's just kind of what it is. I mean, I had always loved sports, but that's just, I just kind of just went full on with my sports, and I was just a sports fanatic. I kind of played like every sport that I could.
Yeah, but you gravitated towards football, right?
Yeah. Towards that's what I played in college. But in high school, I mean, I played football, soccer, wrestled, and also track. So I played all four of those all through high school, and then just ended up playing football in college.
Do you still play any sports at all, or do any types of activity?
Nah, I mean, I would say the most activities that I do is just like the hard work that I put into building things at this point. But no, I don't really play any sports. I may do some yoga, and I do that like once a week at a spot, but that's about it.
Where do you live now?
Me and the wife just recently moved to Stone Mountain, which is about 20 minutes outside of Atlanta.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I thought you were in Virginia Beach for a little bit, right? But then you moved to the Atlanta area. Is that correct?
No, actually, when I graduated, I lived only in Newport News during that time, and then I moved to Northern Virginia, Annandale.
Okay, cool. And were you working as an engineer when you were living up there?
Yep, that's where I was working as an engineer in Annandale, in Tyson's Corner. I had a couple of jobs out there in Tyson's Corner and then Manassas before I ended up making that leap of faith in 2018 to move to Atlanta.
So was that decision to move to Atlanta for the purpose of pursuing your career in art?
Yeah, it was the sole purpose. It was pretty much my only plan. So once I realized that's what I wanted to pursue, it was just a matter of trying to find a place that I feel I can flourish and grow as an artist and start my life and my new life there doing that.
Why did you choose Atlanta?
One, it was just one of representation of just seeing a lot of Black people that were successfully being entrepreneurs, also artists as well. I really like the art scene, and it kind of drew me there, and also drew my wife here as well because she's a business owner herself. So just that aspect, and then there's a lot of people that was willing to just like give you the answers and show you the way, you know what I'm saying? And it wasn't really afraid to kind of like let you know, hey, the failures they had, and kind of just warn you for that. So it was really, really welcoming to move here once we actually did.
That's awesome. Were you and your wife married before you moved to Atlanta?
Nah, we recently actually just got married last year of October.
No way, me too. My wife and I got married last October on October 29th.
29th, it was October 7th for us.
Okay, a little earlier in the month, but same month.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Yeah. Thank you, man. Same to you.
Appreciate that. So what does your wife do?
So she has a content marketing firm. So she may, but right now, most of her business is around workflow consultant. So she's working with universities on basically workflows and just like the efficiency of how they just do projects and I guess any type of workflow that they have in their departments.
Cool. So were you working as an artist or were you still working as an engineer when you guys met?
I was actually an engineer. We actually met at my first job ever outside of college.
Yeah. Her job description sounds really interesting. It's like very analytical, like engineering tech, but there's a creative piece to it too, which I'm sure that you both connect on.
Yeah, indeed.
Cool. So tell me about that decision to like leave that engineering job and really commit to that career as an artist. Like, tell me about the conversation you had with your fiance at the time or wife, and like the decisions that you made to get to that point.
Me and my wife, we've been together for almost basically 8 years now. So she's been with me damn near since the beginning of all of it. And when I like really reconnected with that passion of art when I was like 25, I didn't know that I wanted to actually pursue it full time at that time. It's just like a hobby. Like it's just something I felt that I had to do when I got off work. It just kind of decompressed me. It was just something that I enjoyed. And then it wasn't until I really started educating myself on it a lot more and then just really, just felt completely in love with it, seeing that, hey, I actually can make a career out of it, but there's just ways you got to go about it. Just can't just say, hey, I'm gonna just quit my job and, hey, I'm an artist today and like, hey, buy my art. Yeah. It was about trying to create a plan and executing that plan. So basically me and my wife, we sat down and we ended up basically figuring out like how we can go about that, and personally me, I was like, if I ended up finding a place that I can find a community, people that I can actually learn from, connect with, and become a better artist. It was all about trying to find that in a place. And so we had a bunch of cities that we would necessarily jot down. and try to figure that out of where we could see ourselves living and we could see ourselves, pursuing our dreams. So once we kind of like figured that out, which ended up being Atlanta, it was more or less just trying to understand the cost of living there, how much it would cost, this, that, and the third. And we created a dream fund for ourselves, and and with that dream funds, we just set aside a certain amount of money every check that we got until we got a certain amount that we could live off of for at least 2 years, if we didn't make a dime, and we wouldn't have to stress and worry about bills and any kind of like just any kind of financial burden, right? Because that's like mostly the first thing that people really run into when they quit a job is like, I quit my job, but it's like, oh, dang, I kind of forgot that I got all these other bills that's kind of piling up. And then you start to try to struggle just to make ends meet, so we wanted to make sure we gave ourselves enough room so we can allow ourselves to actually fail and learn from our failures and just grow. Right. So that's where that dream fund came from. So once we actually really saved enough to be able to take that leap of faith, we both put in our notice at our jobs and we all packed up our stuff and we moved to Atlanta, not knowing a soul, just me and her,
Incredible.
And, when we went into June of 2018, we just made it our mission to connect with people, go places. And that's all we did. We just went to a lot of networking events. We just went to different type of circles that had our type of people there, right? Like that were into art, that collectors that buy art, and just really submerge yourself in those scenes and getting to know people and putting yourself into the community and trying to also give back. And, and just one thing leads to another, and I think that's just been 5 years in the making for me, and I'm really seeing the benefits of what I've really put in that effort 5 years ago now, and I mean, I haven't worked for anyone since, since I've moved here, I've been all doing it on my own.
That's so impressive. So how did you guys like calculate that dream fund? Like, how did you go about starting that? And like, what were you taking into consideration? I know you mentioned cost of living. Were you trying to establish like a salary for yourself that you could live off of?
Yeah. So pretty much, yeah, we basically was like, we took our numbers now at what we had lived in Annandale, like, how much do we spend a month on just like rent, all the bills, phone? One thing we were, none of us don't have a car note. So that's one thing that we didn't have. And that's one thing I told about her. She needed a car. You have to buy that cash, right? So you don't want a car note. We don't want any kind of extra bills. So it's the only necessary bills that you necessarily have, which is just your utilities, and no credit card debt, so you don't have to worry about that. And as long as you get that, we got that number. And then obviously we times it by 12. So it's like, okay, so this is what we about spending a year just off of that. And then obviously if we go out to dinner and other things, we kind of calculated that in as well. And then that's how we kind of gave ourselves that base number. It's like, we need this number just to feel comfortable, just to, just to be okay, right? Like just in case like we don't make a dime, right? But I don't think, that wasn't,
yeah, you want the worst case scenario.
To the money, right? But it's just, but we have it there, right? But we also was saving up to buy a house as well, but that didn't pan out. So we ended up using a little bit of that, I would say majority of that to add to the dream fund as well, just to try to continue, to continue on what we wanted to do.
Is that dream fund practice something you guys are still continuing to do, even though you?
I would say we've gotten into a comfortable position of our finance, like being able to make enough money in our businesses to where we can allow ourselves to do that now, right? In the beginning years, it's kind of scrambling. Like, you can try to put some money aside, which you do, but then maybe 3-4 months later, you might end up having to use that money because you didn't make any a month or 2 months in. So, we're now at that point where we're able to set money aside. And now we set this money aside for our actual house because we just recently bought a home as well. So we now set this money aside to just do our renovations that we want to do. So I'm all about doing the renovations. I'm about to redo the bathroom here in next month. So, it's just, that's what we set our money aside for now, to just do anything great, that we want to reward ourselves for.
Well, it sounds like you've been putting in a lot of hard work and making a lot of sacrifices along the way to get to that point. So I'm sure it feels like it's starting to pay off. That's fantastic.
Yeah, definitely. It's definitely been a long time coming.
So when you got to Atlanta, you were, networking and creating your own art. Um, can you tell me about like the community, the art community there, and like how it's supported you and helped you to build that portfolio and inspire you as an artist?
Yeah, man. So when I first got out to Atlanta, I was just all about just going to a bunch of different places. And then I ended up finding this one spot called Peter Street Station. And it was my mentor who named Maya Bailey. He was the owner of it. And I saw he was doing a call out on the internet, he was taking volunteers, to just kind of, help him with his building. And it was an abandoned building that he was basically redoing and bringing back to life. So it was just like about just learning pretty much how to turn nothing into something. So I took that as an opportunity. It was like, hey, well, like this is my end to go here, pitch in some of my help and time, and I get to learn from a person who actually is out here living, who's doing this stuff, and see how he's doing it, learn from his mistakes that he might have made and his, and just continue to grow.
Mm-hmm.
And they welcome me in with, open arms, so it's just a matter of going there, helping them out. And anytime I had questions about something, I'm saying, he was willing to give me answers. So it was very resourceful, in that sense. And then not only that, you also had a group of artists who also came in and helped, and you get to learn about their stories, where they came from, and what they're doing and how, how they go about their career and, what steps you can take. So it's just all of this, this camaraderie that you just have under one roof, that people are, willing to share, their ins and outs of how they're making it, right? And that's just what necessarily really fuels a community and really makes it like blossom. And I've been there for 5 years, so it's just it's just been great.
Does that group of artists have a name that they go by?
We don't really have like a collective name, nah. Like it's not like, because it's more or less like you have people that come in, they may be around for a couple of years and then they're gone, or you may have it's like, I mean, people are like sort of, they're all individuals, right? But it's still a hub of people that can still connect with one another. You don't have to all just be in the same clique. You get what I'm saying? So it's like everybody kind of have their own little spaces that they might actually really like, gravitate to. But, this is a space that, hey, I'm saying, you can actually connect under one roof, with other people.
Sure. And I know you do like a good bit of woodworking and like creating the canvases that you make your art on, as one of your mediums. Is that a skill that you picked up from that job you were just talking about?
Exactly. So like going into there, like, like I said, it was an abandoned building. So like I said, they was doing everything from the ground up, from laying floors to putting up walls. And I was learning all of that stuff firsthand. Mm-hmm. So just like, and I also come from a line of carpenters. So it just also just like, it kind of just like, oh yeah, my uncle does this, or like, yeah, like my grandfather does this as well. Like, it's just, I never saw an interest at it as a kid, but actually working with it, I found this love for it. It's just like, all this curiosity that I have up here to build things. It's like, I actually have the tools to do that now, because once you have that just base of knowledge, like you can really just kind of take it anywhere that you really want to,
Yeah.
So like, yeah, and that's where I kind of learned everything that I am doing with that. That's where I learned how to build my first frame, for my artwork, which then later turned into one of my main businesses. Is I do floating frames for a lot of artists here in the city. That's like, and that's just something that I actually picked up being there. I would have never thought that I would actually be doing woodworking or building frames for people as a stream of income. But that was just something that kind of like was birthed being there under that roof. And it's just like, hey, it's still a part of art. It's just that, you know, at the end of the day, you have to have multiple streams of income. And it's something that I build later on that doesn't necessarily need me around.
So in addition to the frame making business, what are your other streams of income?
So I do tattoos as well. So, and like I said, that's something that I would have never in my life thought I would be doing tattoos. But like I said, the guy, the mentor, speaking of Maya Bailey, he's a pretty world-renowned tattoo artist, you know. So just being under that roof, I just kind of like fell in love with it. Kind of just seeing that, it's like, oh man, this dude get to put his own type of art on people's skin, and like they are loving it, and like they are flying all over the country or whatever just to get these tattoos, and it's just like that. It's a sense of reward, you know, and it's just like it's extremely dope that people have that type of trust in someone that they really want you to really draw something out and put it on your skin, you know. So the fact is that I saw that I can actually turn my art and put it on people's skin as well. It just like, why not? Like, right? Like, you know, if he can actually say he can teach me, you know, and that's all it takes is an actual teacher, right? And that tells you the proper ways of doing it, and you go from there. Now it's either you want to keep doing it or you don't. But I found the love for it, you know, something that I would have never thought I would have ever done. And it's something that people have told me in the past to try to do, but it's like, nah, I'm not trying to mess with that. Like all the blood, this, that, and the third, you know, I'm good, you know. But actually, when you've been around it, you're in a shop, you're seeing all these people doing it, and you're in a professional atmosphere. It's just like, bro, this is the coolest shit ever.
It's a really cool industry. I'm a big fan, as you can see. I got my a couple years ago. I got a whole sleeve on this arm. And yeah, there's a great tattoo scene here in Richmond, which I'm a proud supporter of.
That's awesome.
It's really cool to see you, you know, getting involved and seeing more people of color in the tattoo industry too. You know, I know there's, you know, a few on the East Coast that do it really well. And, you know, Atlanta's technically on the East Coast, or at least close to it. So I'm really excited to see you as part of that culture as well. When did you start your tattoo apprenticeship?
So I started that in the summer of 2019. So that was like very short lived for 6 months. And COVID happened, and then I had to take a pause, and then we kicked back, started it in 2021.
But I'm sure you were still drawing a bunch, and
and I was tattooing myself. I would only tattoo myself and like my family members during that time. It was just, since it was very new for me, I was just like, well, I guess I won't be tattooing no randos out here.
That's cool. What studio do you tattoo out of?
It's called City of Ink.
Okay, and that's in Atlanta?
Yeah. So I tattoo out of the Social Club. We also have the flagship shop, which is the street shop, which is 2 doors down. That's like, you know, that's been around for about 14 years in Atlanta, you know. Man, they have great tattoo artists. They've made a great, you know, culture in the tattoo industry. So it's been super dope to be a part of that crew.
You also have like clothing that you sell on your website too, and you know, you spread those positive messages. Can you talk about that?
Yeah, man. So that's just my merch. That's just, like I said, I try to make sure that, you know, I try to make something that is accessible to necessarily everyone, right? And clothing is obviously something that people love. You know, we're not gonna stop wearing clothes. So for me, it's like, you know, if I'm gonna make something, I at least want to make something that just like, I don't know, very meaningful. Like, you know, not only are you going to wear it, but somebody reading is just like, oh, I love that. Like, you know what I'm saying? And it just creates these compliments and these interactions between just random people. And that's just all, that's what I think about when I make these shirts and these hoodies. You know, it's just like, you know, that someone is just going to compliment on your shirt, and you may start a conversation, and who knows, you know, and there's just this beautiful connection that people can have. And that's just it, man. I'm just all about spreading a positive message, you know, because, you know, I've been depressed before, you know, and know what it feels like just to really just to feel that really low, and just to know that, everyone kind of goes through it. And, it's just good to know that people can move through that and still be able to be positive later on and be able to grow through, all their downs.
I hear you. I mean, I've been there myself. I've struggled with depression and anxiety for many years. I treat it better now than I have in the past. And, I think it's important while, coping with it and having days that aren't so good, it's, important to find the positive as much as you can. And that gives me a reason to strive to be positive as much as possible. So I'm right there with you. Tell me about that time in your life when you were feeling depressed. Was that prior to moving to Atlanta?
That was prior to moving to Atlanta. That was right after, once you've actually received everything that you necessarily worked for, I felt like everything I bust my ass for, once I got it, and I realized it's not all that cracked up to be, and it's just I don't know, it's just I kind of lost myself, and just felt like I was trapped. I was like, damn, this is my only move in life now. What the fuck did I do? And like I said, I just felt lost, man. I just didn't, and it just spiraled. And I've never felt like that before. And it took me to a place where, man, I would just wake up crying and just sad that I was just living the life that I was living, and just really didn't know how to overcome it at that time. I was really scared that it was never going to go away. Yeah, I mean, like I said, when I would just talk to people, they was just, try to obviously, coach me through it. Just let me know that I am, it is life that you are going through, and, obviously told me to seek therapy and stuff like that, but I never did. So it obviously made that struggle a little harder. And that's something that I am still struggling with to this day. So that's the reason why I've kind of started this whole group with my best friends. And that's just a monthly check-in, just to see how we're all doing, just on an emotional level, and just to talk to one another, because all of us will maybe not want to go to a therapist, but if we can at least be comfortable enough to talk to each other about our feelings, good or bad, then that's a step forward.
Is that a recent development?
Yeah, man, we just started it last month, because even in these past months, I wouldn't say I felt depressed or anything like that, but I felt lonely, right? Or I felt the sense of oh man, I've really just, all I've been doing is consuming myself in work and just working my ass off. And it's that's one great thing too, is having your own business, but it's about just making these connections and spending time with people and just being around your loved ones as well. Yeah. So I'm kind of seeing that, and I'm reaching out to, my friends and stuff like that, letting them know we need to connect more. We need to talk more. We don't need to just go on this one trip a year. I kind of need to still see you guys because, right. I'm not that I don't have friends in Atlanta. I have a lot of artist friends and stuff like that. But I think as you get to a certain level, it's only so many people you connect extremely deeply with, so it's just, I think it's just that.
Yeah, I completely agree. One of the best days of the week for me is Thursdays, when I get to go ride bikes with my friends and, have that in-person connection, do some movement together, have a few laughs, see some cool shit, and just have a good time. And, especially since going through the pandemic when we were so isolated, I think it showed us how important social connection really is, and finding that community that you can have that connection with is so valuable. And, especially with having open and honest, vulnerable conversations about mental health, with your friends, that's amazing. I remember this meme that I saw a year or two ago about making it weird to tell your friends that you love them. Yeah. That's something I try to do. I actually sent out a mass text to a bunch of people today, just checking in and telling them I haven't heard from you in a while, but hope you're doing good. Sending you positive vibes, and got some interesting responses, but it was really good stuff.
Yeah, hey man, and like you know, and you get that sometimes, you know.
Yeah.
Like sometimes, and even with my boys, man, sometimes we can be a lot of jokesters and just like, yeah, like at this moment, like let's all be serious, like you know what I'm saying. You know, every second we spend with one another, we can't be always just joking off. Like let's be serious for a second, and you know what I'm saying, because it's a lot of us in here that's not really talking about what we actually are personally going through, and we're you know what I'm saying, we keeping it in, and you know, and we know nobody should keep it all in. You know what I'm saying? Somebody should talk to someone.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, if it's not a therapist, you know, talk to your wife, talk to your friends, talk to someone.
Yeah, it's just about getting it out, man. You gotta talk to somebody.
100%. So you talked about doing yoga as a form of movement. Are there any other ways you practice self-care in your life other than, you know, when you're doing, I'm sure your art is a form of self-care, but obviously that's your job too. So
right.
You practice self-care.
Yeah, man, I would say yoga is probably like the only thing that's been consistent. You know, over the years I've meditated here and there. That's kind of like a love-hate relationship.
Yeah.
And also reading as well. I haven't read as much in the last year or so, but you know, I think I just go through like phases where I might read a shit ton, and then I might take a little time off, you know. But also, I love reading comics, you know. So I'm in comics. Like far as movement, yoga is the only movement, you know what I'm saying, that I'm doing. I got a punching bag in the basement whenever I get angry, you know what I'm saying, and let loose.
Have you made your own comic yet? I feel like that's got to happen at some point.
Hey, man, let's say I have a whole storyline, and like I've had a whole layout of a book that I've like written like maybe 3 years ago, and I started like drawing a couple of the pages, but I just kind of set it aside. So it's just like it's something that may happen later on in my life. Who knows? But I still kept everything, you know, obviously, and just if I ever want to revisit. But yeah, none right now.
Very cool. What about nutrition? What food do you like to eat that helps you feel your best and keep you fueled for everything you're doing?
Oh, I don't know, man. You know, like I'm not really a foodie. You know what I'm saying? I'm actually the guy you have to remind to eat.
Is that your wife's job to remind you to eat?
Yeah, she hates it sometimes, but you know, but yeah, I mean, I can get lost into just doing things and just forget, you know. But yeah, man, I don't know. Like I would say, as long as I have my smoothie first thing in the morning and my coffee, like you know, get me running and going, like you know, that gets my day that gets my day started.
Yeah. What do you put in your smoothie?
Just fruits and veggies. Just fruits and like spinach and kale and some ginger.
Nice. Yeah, a little ginger for the sinuses and
yeah.
Nice. Good stuff. Do you make it yourself, or is it something you pick up at a local juice shop?
Nah, man, I'm not. That's something that, yeah, like me and the wife don't really do a lot of like eating out and stuff like that. You know, that might be like once a week. We will maybe do some takeout or something like that. But we primarily cook here every single night. You know, so and damn near every meal.
Are you guys vegetarian?
Nah. I used to be vegetarian until I moved to Atlanta.
Then you had to have the fried chicken.
Yeah, I mean, I started eating a lot of wings, and you know, just yeah, I just changed my diet in the sense of like just being a little bit more conscious of what I'm eating, right? Like you know, try not to eat a lot of the processed bullshit, you know. But yeah, I'm no longer vegetarian. Yeah,
that's okay. So leave that there. What do you have going on now? Like, what current projects are you working on?
So I'm actually getting ready for a takeover next month at this coffee shop out here in Stone Mountain. They're going to let me pretty much take over their entire building. They have a 2-story building. And I'm going to basically put all of my artwork from 2020 to 2023 all through their place, and I'll be leaving that up for a month. They're going to allow me to sell my merch and everything out of there for the month. So I have that coming up in August. This weekend, I have 2 group exhibits that I'm actually going to be showcasing some artwork in as well. So that's Friday and Sunday. And then after that, man, I'm going to be taking a pause from any type of projects or anything, and I'm going to be focusing on my very first solo show for next year.
Okay, let's talk about that. That'll be more timely for the release of this podcast. So what's the inspiration behind that show?
It's going to be titled Second Chances. And that is revolved around pretty much what I do now with my paintings. Is everything is leftover material that I have around my house, or that I may just get from other artists or stuff like that. And that's how I fabricate all of my paintings. So it's all about necessarily giving all these things a second chance to live on. And that's pretty much what all my work will be represented around come here next May.
That's really cool. I love that. It's like sustainable art, using recycled materials to create something new. And I'm sure the theme of Second Chances is applied too, right? As far as like what each piece is going to represent.
Yeah, exactly. So everything will be very thought out in how these materials will be used. So it also gives you that idea of what it might inspire, Mm-hmm. So like as of right now, a lot of my paintings, I just build it as the medium in the canvas, and I just paint, necessarily paint over top of it. Mm-hmm. Whereas these would be a little bit more thought out, as in not covering everything, but leaving some of that left behind, because a lot of people don't even realize that I've made a lot of my canvases and pieces out of just scrap materials, like from just literally there's nothing on there that is not a piece of scrap, mm-hmm. So that's just how I actually mold and build it first before I even start.
How are you sourcing these materials? Are you just setting up a donation bin somewhere, like at your studio?
Yeah, you don't even have to do that, right? Like as humans, like we consume so much stuff, and throw away so much stuff,
right?
And so it's just things that I have myself.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? Literally everything that I would either donate to someone, or I would recycle, or I would throw away. If I can't actually reuse it for something in my house, I typically either recycle it, throw it away, or donate it if it's useful. Mm-hmm. So I'm just no longer kind of doing that. Instead, I either reuse it or I don't, or I keep it for myself if I actually like it or whatever it is, because I might like that texture, I might like that color, or I might actually like that design, So, it's just I just now hold on to these things, and then I just have a box and bags of these stuff that I collect. And when it's time for me to build out a bunch of canvases and stuff like that, I pull all this stuff out and just start gluing and bonding all this stuff together, man.
Very cool. So is the theme of Second Chances like relevant to your personal journey?
100%, bro. 100%. Like me living this life that I am living now is my second chance at really living the life that I dreamed about living, and just being happy, because even having the IT job, like I made really good money, and it was cool, but I was still fucking miserable, bro. I feel like I was more miserable then than when I was broke, and I was confused, So it's like, I have all this, but my problems seems a lot worse at this point for some reason, And that's when I realized, like, me chasing the money wasn't what I really needed. You know what I'm saying? I had to really find out what actually makes Quamaine happy, and how do you go about doing that, and totally. And for me, it's just being able to just do the things that I love doing, and I just love being creative. Like I have to make things, I have to build things, and that's just it's just been in me, and I think I've been holding it in for so long. That's all I do now is every day is I make things, I create. Like, if anything, my wife just tells me I need to sit my ass down, because it's like, hey, you don't have to every hour of the day, but it's like, hey, I'm like, you know, I have the time at the moment. Why not?
Yeah, that's so cool, man. And I'm sure your schedule is pretty booked up with everything you have going on. I think the world is really blessed that you finally, of course you've been doing it for a while now, but you finally let go and like open the floodgates of your creative potential, so you can share everything that you have to offer. And still the well is very much untapped. There's a lot more to come from, what you learn about yourself through the art that you create.
Yeah, indeed, man. Yeah, I mean, I was like, I wouldn't change anything, man. Like, I think I had to go through everything that I necessarily had to go through to be where I am today.
Absolutely. The journey is everything.
It is, man. It is.
So we're going to move towards wrapping up. Just have a couple more questions for you, starting with our mindset moment. What is a quote or phrase that you use in difficult circumstances to help you stay positive?
So what I used to write down in my actual gratitude journal, one of my main things I used to write down all the time is I am my own superhero.
I am my own superhero?
Yeah.
What do you mean by that?
As in, like, I don't have to necessarily have anyone necessarily validate or reassure me that I am doing the right thing for myself. You know what I'm saying? That I'm able to really provide for myself. And just able to do it on my own, and get started on my own. And yeah, it's just a matter of not having to have a handout, I guess.
Right. Having that self-determination and discipline to do the work, to show up to that canvas, to move to Atlanta. Of course, you had the support of your wife, and then you built a supportive community around you, but ultimately, you're the one who has to show up and do the work.
Yeah. At the end of the day, yeah, I mean, it's great to have a support system, right? But at the end of the day, like, you can't expect someone to go out there and do it for you. Right. Like, they can sit there, they can give you all the ideas and all of that. And that's where a lot of people can, sit around and kind of like, oh man, I was waiting for something. Like, nah, man, you can't wait on that. It's like, you have to do it yourself first. And then later on in life, then, you might have that help, and that stuff will come along. But I think if you really want to get somewhere, you have to first start doing it yourself.
Yeah. Absolutely. Next is PMA Warrior of the Week. Who is someone in your life or someone who inspires you, that helps you maintain a positive mental attitude?
Oh man. Let me see. Well, I mean, for one, my wife, she's really good at it. I mean, really good at it, bro. And she's the person that tries to get me to write in a gratitude journal. And like I said, I try my best sometimes, but sometimes I might not get in that rhythm, of continue to do it. But she can so she can sit there and really, like, help me, I guess, get through it to be okay to say these things about myself, or because I don't like to give myself compliments. You know what I'm saying? I'm like the hardest critic on myself as well. So it's like, it's very hard to sit there and try to reward myself in a sense, because sometimes I felt like I haven't done enough, or I haven't gotten there yet. So, like, she's that person to really remind me, like, how far I've came or what I've done, because sometimes you can lose sight of that.
You and I are a lot alike in that regard. And I know, like, with depression, it's hard to, say those things or write those things when you're not always feeling those things.
You know what I'm saying? It's
But
tough,
the
man.
gratitude helps.
Sometimes you can like I feel like I'm lying to myself sometimes. Like, you know what I'm saying? And she's like, that's what it's not about. It's about you just writing it down and getting comfortable saying it,
Right.
so you really truly believe it. You know what I'm saying? Because a part of you don't believe it, and it's like you have to believe it. Like, you know, and it's just like, yeah, you're right. Like, all right. And I would say, you know, she's really helped me really have seen light in that way as well. Like, you know, just to be very positive and stay positive, you know, even if you're down and out, like try to find something positive about your day. Don't let it ruin your entire day.
Absolutely. What's your wife's name?
Joanne.
All right. Shout out to Joanne.
Yes.
Last, where can people connect with you if they want to check out your art or follow along with you on your journey?
Yes, you can follow me at Quamaine Giles on Instagram. That is my painting page. And Arts by Quamaine is pretty much my page for everything else. That's where my tattooing and my furniture and where I build my floating frames. It's pretty much everything that I do. I kind of put it in under that hub. But strictly all of my painting and everything is under Quamaine Giles.
Cool. Thank you so much, Quamaine. Great talking to you, man.
Hey, thank you, Joe, man. It was a pleasure, bro. Thank you so much, man.
Welcome back to Evolve Podcast, Part 2. And we have Quamaine here. Quamaine, thank you for being here again to catch us up on all the exciting things you have going on.
I appreciate it, man. Thank you for talking to me again. It's been almost a year now.
I know, crazy how time flies, right?
Yeah.
So when we last spoke, you were preparing for a few art shows. The first one, I think, was in February for the Emergence Volume 2 that you did with other artists. And was that the show where you successfully sold all of your pieces from that show?
Correct. Yeah, man. First time ever done that.
Awesome. Congratulations. How did that feel?
Bro, breathtaking for real, man. It's just like it's been all this hard work I've been putting in, and like I say, a lot of times I go to shows sometimes don't sell, especially since I make an abstraction, and a lot of people aren't really into it just yet. So just having people buy that, and then like most of those sold in the first night, you know, which it was up for 30 days, and then within another week, the last 2 sold. So within the first week, I had sold all 6 paintings, and I mean. Yeah, I'm still speechless to this day. It's only been a couple months ago, but I mean, it's breathtaking, man. Like, and very rewarding that, you know, I've finally been able to be in a space where people appreciate it and really see the value in what I'm doing and creating.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you know if like certain individuals bought multiple pieces, or was it all different buyers?
Yeah, so as far as I know, everyone, I don't know as far as the last 2, because I never got to see or got to talk to those folks, whatever, but at least the 4 prior, they were individual, everybody was individual.
That's awesome. Have you had any like repeat customers coming to you, like trying to buy work from you?
Not here recently. I know most of my collectors that have bought work from me are really pretty much waiting for my solo show here in a couple of weeks. So they'll know that you know what I'm saying, they'll have something fresh and new. But after that sold out show, I did have a lot of folks just reaching out to try to come by my studio to see more work and just to see what I have. But you know, I have a ton of work, but I told them I'm just trying to focus on my show and just like give me time, and you know, you can see something fresh and new.
Yeah. And I know you've had a few other shows that you've done since then as well. You told me about the Gilly Takeover. How did that show go?
That went really well. That's actually where I'm at right now. That ended up leading to not only me taking over their space and doing that, but also he offered me studio space because they have a second floor with a bunch of like empty rooms. So I mean, the owner just pretty much saw that I didn't have a public space. He offered to give me a space, in return help him bring art to the space. So like that has just been like wonderful, you know, because that's something I've been really writing down and trying to manifest. Because I mean, studio spaces out here in Atlanta is extremely expensive, you know, so it's damn near paying a second rent.
No kidding.
Mortgage.
Yeah. So are you showcasing your art there, or are you like collaborating with other artists to show multiple different people's work?
So that will be the goal. At the moment, it's just my work here, but here, like we're going to be working on pretty much trying to bring in more artists and start curating some shows here to maybe bi-monthly and stuff like that, and just start trying to bring awareness and art into this space.
So tell me more about the space. Like Gilly is a restaurant, correct?
No, it's just a coffee shop.
Okay, it's a coffee shop. Gotcha.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they're just a coffee shop. They sell like pretty much just all you know what I'm saying, your typical coffees, but also do muffins and like breakfast sandwich and salads, like just small little meals. And like I said, they just open from what I think 6 or 7 in the morning till 3. So it's just you know what I'm saying, a little coffee shop, run Monday through Saturday, and yeah, it's very chill.
Cool. Yeah, it sounds like a chill environment. And it's great that they're supporting the local artists as well, giving you that space to do your work and, create more work for them, but also for the community. I'm sure that's really special and something you're really grateful for.
Yeah, indeed.
Yeah. Other shows that I saw on your Instagram included the Protect Your Energy convention and Imperfect Harmony. Can you tell me about those shows?
Yeah, so the Protect Your Energy is more or less like that's like an event. Like so it's like they do think of like how they do Comic-Con and all these other things. So this is just more or less about energy and healing and all of that manifestation. So that's just you have all these different vendors and people that do all these type of stuff, and that's just everybody's coming together under one roof and just kind of sharing what they do with their businesses. Also, just trying to help people overcome certain things in their life. Because, like I said, there's a lot of us that's sort of depressed and don't really realize we're depressed and trying to really understand ourselves and just know how to move. So that's pretty much what that event is about. The Imperfect Harmony was a group show done at a church actually from a friend of mine who curated it, and that was just pretty much a show. I think mostly abstraction was pretty much majority of that group exhibit.
Cool. So the Protect Your Energy event. Did you show any art at that, or were you like?
Nah. So for me, I pretty much just sell my merch during those kind of events because my merch necessarily has a message or just a positive message. So that's just that's pretty much all I do in those events, and also just speak. I may speak on that panel and stuff like that. Just how I move and how I deal with my stress, stuff like that.
Right. Awesome. And in regards to the Imperfect Harmony show, like that definitely sounds like that is your community. Like you are, predominantly an abstract artist and, getting to work and collaborate with other abstract artists in the Atlanta area. I'm sure that you fit in perfectly there. Is that how you
man, it's steady growing. So it's like it's beautiful. Especially over these last like 4 years since I've been really submerged in abstraction. It's nice to see how it's growing. It's a lot more people are getting involved and trying to understand abstraction.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's really cool to see it grow and for you to be part of that for sure. You also had a solo exhibit show last year in August that featured a journey of your artistic growth from 21 to 2023. And I saw that you had about 20 to 30 pieces in that show from your portfolio. How did that go?
So that was what I did. That was actually the Gilly takeover. So that's where that is what that show was. Like I said, I ended up selling like 4 or 5 pieces out of the 30. So like I said, it was still nice, still beautiful that people came out and still supported me. But it was just, for me, it was just an introduction to show people my growth, just how much I've transitioned and grew from 2020 till now.
Right. The beginnings of the journey.
Just seeing how it really evolves.
Right. So the next phase is your upcoming show, Second Chances, on May 3rd. So I know you've been doing a lot of promoting on your Instagram for that, getting the word out there, and really letting people know what Second Chances are all about. And we talked a bit about that in the first part of this conversation, but I want to revisit that. So can you just, again, summarize what the show is about and why it's important to you?
Second Chances is necessarily not only about the materials that I use, because everything that I use is upcycled, recycled materials. And also it's about second chance of giving myself a life and a purpose that I want to live. So, and that's just how I'm tying both of those things together. Because obviously, you know me, I met you at CNU college and stuff like that. And at that time, I didn't really truly understand and know who I truly was. It ain't until I graduated and realized that, oh, those things that I really want isn't what I want. And instead of just like saying, oh, these are the cards I'm dealt, I just got to deal with it, I said, nah, bump that. I'm going to start over again, but this time do it the way I truly want without any influences of other people's opinions and dictating how I should live my life. So that's pretty much how Second Chances evolved into this and just into my career. And that's just what I've been doing for the last almost 10 years now.
Yeah, it's been quite a journey for sure. And, you know, we can only make the decisions that we have with the information that's available to us at the time, right?
Right.
And, you know, with making career moves or, you know, life decisions about where we want to be, you know, we don't have all the information at the time that we need to have necessarily to make the best decisions. We can only do what feels right in that moment. And, you know, that's why, you know, people say, and it's true, hindsight is 2020, because you have that perspective looking back on your experience and who you are now and who you want to become later on based on what you've experienced up to that point. So it's really great that you've embraced that and you're really leaning into that. And, you know, I know what we talked about in our previous conversation, there are many steps along the way that helped you get there. You know, I'm just really proud of you for where you're at in your journey and where you're going. So I know this show is a celebration of that as well. And can you tell me about some of the pieces that you have made for this show that will like be illustrating some of that?
Yeah, so pretty much like I say, like how I title my work, I pretty much title my work at the end of I make it, right? So at that point, it's more or less about reflecting and about the materials I use, how I felt necessarily when I was creating the piece, and what is the direction I plan on going with it. So basically, with a lot of these pieces, I've already come up. It's just like I said, it's about rebirth and about just about new opportunities from old, right? So at the end of the day, I'm not trying to throw away everything that I've learned from that point, but bring it into my new life, you know, and try to help elevate it from there, right? And not getting rid of it. And that's just pretty much what this show is about. It's not necessarily disregarding everything that I've done in the past, but how do I add that to my new life and make something way more fulfilling that I truly want.
Yeah.
So all of these pieces will reflect that, you know. Probably like one of my favorite pieces at the moment is titled Knock Knock, you know. And that is a double entendre of life and death, you know, and that's just from my depression state from when I was younger than 25, first getting out of college and kind of getting into that career of just like falling into that depression, you know, and not that I ever had suicidal thoughts, but I started to just not care about dying, right? Like, it's just, I felt I had no purpose. Like, it's just, if I died today, I would be okay with that. I think my life will be okay, you know? And that's just from a sign of just depression, right? Just not being happy. So, and not really feeding into that too much. And like really starting to really take art that was very therapeutic at that time. Realize that, hey, can actually make a career from this as well, and just push for it, strive for it, start back over, and just know that this is what I want. And that's just what I've been doing these last 10 years. So that gave me gave me life and purpose. So instead of answering that door to fucking death, I answered to that life, you know? And that's just kind of what these pieces are representing in me.
That's great, man. And it sounds to me like art has been very therapeutic for you as well with, coping with those feelings of self-doubt and depression and helping you to navigate your way out of that.
Yeah, man, 100%, but also just trying to talk to other people as well. That's something I've learned. Like I've never went to a psychiatrist or talked to anyone. I just was never comfortable. I just more or less started talking to my closer friends a little bit more. We started getting a little bit more intimate and talking about our feelings because I realized a lot of us didn't do it. So I started a group, with my boys that we would just check in every month, that we just kind of check in on each other's health, mental health, whatever is feeling, just to see how each other's doing and just to make sure we're there to uplift each other, because we're not
I remember
in the same state.
That last time. Are you guys still doing that?
Yeah. Right now we kind of took a little break because both of my boys just had kids and stuff like that. So kind of letting them guys kind of get acclimated to the new dad life. But we will getting it back started here in the next month or so.
I would argue it's even more important to do it right now.
You're right. Yeah.
Going on. Yeah. I'm sure they're experiencing a whole bunch of new emotions and
yeah. I mean, I'm talking to them and texting them and stuff like that. But yeah, we haven't gotten together in a group probably in a good 2 months. So like I said, hopefully I'm trying to get that back going next month, especially after this show. Like I said, I've been extremely swamped. So my time has been very limited.
Understandable. And I know you also have been keeping up with your tattooing practice as well, and some really cool pieces, including some cover-ups. Can you share any more updates on your tattooing journey and where that's at?
So like I said, my tattoo journey is extremely slow. Right now, this past year, I really did my first major cover-ups, which were like extremely intimidating at first. Because it's a cover up. You don't, that person is getting something they don't like, so you don't want to end up doing something that they don't like again. Because that's the whole point. But man, it's just like I ended up having some people that really believed in me and believed in my designs and kind of gave me that effort, and I kind of feel like I really hit it out the park. So it's just like been really introducing that, just kind of taking it pretty much cover up at a time, right? Because everything can't be covered up. You have to work with cover ups, and that's what I have to tell people, and that's what I've been learning and stuff like that. So I always make sure I run that by my mentor and stuff like that. But like I say, tattooing's just slow, man. Like it's nothing too major. I still do appointments, even if in the meantime right now. But it's like I'm not really doing a lot of advertising for it at the moment because I'm focusing on my show and stuff like that.
Yeah, of course. Do you make yourself available for walk-ins at all, or do you just
I don't do any kind of like walk-ins, just because the fact is I personally can't sit around and wait around. I find my time is just way too valuable just to sit around and wait and hope that somebody's going to come into a shop. You know what I'm saying? It's just there's so many other things I feel like I can be doing myself. So for me, now if I'm in the shop and somebody happened to walk in, I'm there, but I don't really have a set days that I'm there to take walk-ins. Like that's just it's not very efficient for me.
Yeah, I understand that. I mean, I know for a lot of artists, especially people who have a stronger client base, like they don't need to do that because they can get consistent appointments from their existing or new clients based on the work that they've already done. And it sounds like that's what you're, pursuing with your tattooing.
Yeah, pretty much. That's the reason why I like to try to stick with like a certain kind of style. And that way I'm making sure that I'm staying to my artistic touch as well. Everyone that is at least coming to me, they want the type of work that I create and make. So it's a lot more rewarding when I finish a tattoo. Yeah, I bet.
Pivoting a little bit, I want to talk about your home renovations.
What would you like to know, my man?
I mean, are you guys still working on that? I think the last thing you said in our previous conversation was that you had got your bathroom done. Like, what have you guys done in the past year?
Yeah, so I mean, I pretty much stopped at the bathroom. That was the last thing that we did was just renovated the entire primary bathroom, and that's pretty much where I've kind of stopped. At this point, right now, I started back up just working in the backyard, trying to get my landscape right. I started a garden this year, so I've already kind of started planting vegetables and all of that. So I'm trying to get prepared for this summer, so I can have all my veggies and just be a very self-sufficient man.
I love that. Is your wife a gardener as well?
Yeah, she likes to garden, But personally, me, I've since we've moved into the house, I've really just kind of like taken that charge. It's just something's been very therapeutic with just like raising plants and caring for plants, and even a few plants I've saved and brought back to life has been extremely rewarding. So it's just a little bond that I've created within this last year, just doing that.
That's great. How much space do you guys have?
Shit, I mean, I have a pretty decent sized home. I think it's about 2,000 square feet. So, 2-story home. So, like I said, we got plenty of room.
Is it on the roof or backyard?
Oh, I have a backyard. Yeah, I'm nearly about a half an acre of yard. So, yeah, I pretty much take up my whole backyard in the middle where I'm going to have over 100 some plants.
So I know you guys live in Stone Mountain, which is outside of Atlanta. Is it a more rural area?
I'm not in the rural area of Stone Mountain, but there are rural areas. I'm more or less on the borderline of Stone Mountain and the city. So just like you still kind of like have that transition of the city going into that rural life and suburbs and stuff like that.
Gotcha. But you still have a good amount of like property and like you can.
Yeah. That's where I found that it was like, for what we paid and then what we would have got in Atlanta would have been just like half, but it would have been half that, and not only the half of the land, but probably half of the house as well.
Yeah, I bet. So pivoting back to your art, going forward, what do you plan on focusing for your art as you prepare for your next show after this one? I mean, I know you're not exactly in that headspace yet, but I'm sure you've started getting ideas for what you want to do after this, right?
Yeah. So for me, I really want to really start incorporating like my craftsmanship more into my artwork. So just I don't really know how that's going to play out, but that's where I'm thinking and want to push forward next, right after this show, just to see what I can create and just make. But I will still be making the works that I kind of make right now. But I do want to explore and try something very new, along with the furniture design that I do and stuff like that. So I'm trying to see how I can incorporate the two.
What type of furniture have you built?
I've built my nook. I've built the bed. I've built the desk. You know what I'm saying? Console tables, like, little end tables and stuff. So pretty much any and everything around my house. I just, if I see it, I'm like, oh, hey, I'll make that. I made my breakfast nook table because my wife showed me a thing on Pinterest. I was like, oh yeah, I can make that.
That's super cool. Do you accept any commissions at all for like artwork?
I don't do commission work.
No, not at all.
Nah.
Why
Just because simple fact is I don't it's not that I wouldn't. Because I do commission work as far as framing, right? Like that is considered commission work for me. It's something that's kind of like straightforward. But for my painting and artwork, it's just very hard to really do commission work because then I have to really think about what you really like and what you want from it. And it's not going to be fun making the work, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. And my work in abstraction is just about necessarily what I like and what you know what I'm saying? And what I like to make. If someone else likes it, so, you know what I'm saying? Great. But at the end of the day, I'm making the work for me first.
Do you feel the same way about making furniture?
Nah, the furniture is just more or less just like, I think it's just like, what can I do? How, like, can I actually make it happen? And seeing something from a sketch and then actually then end up becoming right there in your hands, that's just extremely rewarding just because I just like building. I've always loved building and just making things. That's the reason why I had become an engineer and wanted to like go into robotics and build stuff. But once you graduate, it ain't too many robotic jobs and things like that. So, yeah.
Do you think it's possible you might incorporate some robotics into your artwork?
No, man, I left technology alone, man. I'm probably like damn near. I'm like I feel illiterate sometimes when I see people and see the new technology. It's just I don't keep up with any of it no more. Like I rarely get on my computer now. You know, it's just like I've submerged myself just in this art world and just making art and just how I can become better and just making a name for myself.
Do you struggle with like the urge to like be offline and like not be on your computer versus like the expectation or the opinion that you need to be promoting yourself online and on social media?
Yeah, man, I think that's probably what I've battled the most over these like last 6 years since I've like transitioned to being a full-time artist is just like trying to understand that, right? And my first couple of years, I was like really honing, trying to like make sure I'm marketing myself, showing myself, but it was just making me miserable because it's just like fuck, like I don't want to record and have to just show every fucking thing I do. Sometimes I just want to work, and then I can show you the results at the end. So for me, I just have to try to find a balance. And at this point, it's just like, hey, when I post something, I post it. You know, I try to have some few things here and there. Right now, like I'm doing a lot of posts because I know I got a show, but it's mostly just me reposting the flyer. And I might post some like little clip here and there, but I don't really have my camera on all the time. Like I try and I've done it, but it just makes the work so much longer. Like, and it's just, and it's not enjoyable, you know? So for me, it's just like, I do what I can and I put out what I can. And I just know that's the best I can do it, you know? So hopefully one day soon that I can make enough money that I can just pay someone to kind of do that and just kind of make those things. And you know what I'm saying? And have it done for me.
For sure.
You know?
I mean,
because it's nothing to like just sit there and record the stuff, but it's the editing and trying to put it and make it look pretty.
It ain't easy, let me tell you.
All right, like, it takes forever, man. It takes forever.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I'm sure you'll get there at some point. You know, you're already building a strong client base, and people like the work you do, and with the community that you have around you, supporting you as you support yourself as an artist, you know, it'll go a long way. So is there anything else that you want to comment on that we haven't already talked about? Anything ringing in your head you want to get off your chest?
Nah, man, all I'm gonna say is just like, you know, if you believe in something, just go for it, right? Because at the end of the day, like we can sit here and try to figure out things and try to make the perfect scenario. At the end of the day, if you wait for the perfect scenario, your time has passed, you know? So at the end of the day, it's just about figuring shit out, right? Like at the end I had no idea how to be a full-time artist at all, you know? But I knew that if I don't do this now, I'm gonna forever have that what if factor. And that's the one thing that I told myself I don't ever want to have when I become older. What if I would have did that, right? Because like that is like I don't have kids. I didn't, you know what I'm saying, I didn't have any of those stuff at the time. So it's like go for it, right? And figure it out. Follow my face, you know, like, you know, it's just starting back over. And that's the mentality that I gave myself. Like, I'm back in college again, but I'm just older now. Like, and I'm trying to like pursue this at a 4-year of my own university.
Yeah, absolutely.
And just make an effort and just go for it.
Yeah. One of the tenets that I think is really helpful for me that I try to apply as much as I can, if I'm conscious of it, is like be a lifelong learner, you know, and making sure that you're not the smartest person in the room, you know, so, you know, you can still learn and grow and evolve, you know, your skills by trying to learn from other people and other people who have more experience than you do.
Yeah, man. I think that's probably been the biggest help for myself as well. Like at the end of the day, I mean, I don't try to feel like I know it all because at the end of the day, I know there's someone out there that know more than me, right? Mm-hmm. And for me, as long as you keep yourself humble in that sense that you can always learn something new, you'll do well, you know. And that's it. Like for me, it's about remembering that I'm always a student of the game. Even if I become a master, I'm still a student. You know what I'm saying? Because there's someone I can learn from. And as soon as you feel like you can't learn from anyone else, like you're just gonna go downhill. Like, you know what I'm saying? Because you're gonna feel like you're just better than everybody.
Yep, absolutely. Thanks so much, Quamaine. I really
Oh
enjoyed
man,
it,
thank you, bro.
man. And best of luck on your show.
Well, hey, thank you so much. I look forward to looking at this back, and take care, bro. And I appreciate you, man.
Thanks for watching Evolved Podcast. Follow at evolvedpodcast.co on Instagram for weekly updates. Subscribe to Evolved Podcast on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts, and like your favorite episodes. Production and editing by Joe Fitzpatrick. Our theme music, Endless Cruise, is written and performed by Fingers, spelled F1NG3RS.